Yeah. What has this been like 3 weeks?
Yeah, at least I think it's been a while for sure. So
Yeah, sorry about last Thursday. Last Thursday? Yeah.
yeah, I think it
No.
was.
What day
Yeah,
was it? Yeah,
yeah, it was
sorry about
last
last
Thursday.
Thursday. I think
Yeah.
that's what happens with me when my schedule gets thrown off. Or when things no longer become consistent anymore. I kind of like I forgot.
Oh yeah, it's not a big deal whatsoever. So just yeah, we were camping last weekend, so and we were out at the campsite, and I could have probably maybe had the call still, but it was I worked from the campsite and it was pretty choppy there for the calls we made, so it's probably good we didn't have it on Friday. So
Is this a campsite that you guys frequent as a family?
um well last year was the first time we went there, and then this year we've gone once and we're gonna go again. So it's probably one of the best beach campsite like beaches in Minnesota, I think, that I've been to anyways, in terms of lakes, in terms of like nice sandy beach, and the water's clean, and there's no weeds as you go out into the swimming area and all that. So yeah.
And my father used to bring us to a campsite called Salt Fork. I think it's in like in the middle of Ohio somewhere. But I
Hmm.
remember frequently going there as a child.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
like I was young.
We used to have kind of like a go-to resort place that we went to for a while, because we really liked the location and the people that ran it and stuff. But then this guy who owned it, or couple owned it, got a divorce or something, so they had to split it all up and shut it down, which is kind of unfortunate. But so we've had a few places since then that we go to regularly, but nothing that we'd say that we frequent or whatever.
I wonder why people get married. I feel like there's so many things that can go wrong to ruin people's lives. I don't understand why it's I don't understand why we keep doing it. Like, hey, sign your life away. Even though all your past relationships have ended, sign your life away for this one.
Yeah,
And when it does end, you lose half. And some of your family will stop talking to you, and it'll be a huge disruption in life. Your productivity of work will go down. The lawyers, they'll consume your bank account as soon as they realize how much money you have in your bank account, and sign on the dotted line. We're going to involve judges and police in your relationship with this woman, right? And people just sign up every week, every weekend. I
yeah. It's
I don't understand the logic. Like, there's a life cycle to everything, even our sun. There's a life cycle to it. The people that do make it, it's a small percentage that remain happily married, not married, happily. And I'm just intrigued at humans and how emotional we are as creatures. So, all right, I deviated. I'm sorry, but
no,
when
that's
you
the
when you
script,
mention
man.
when you mention the campground and
Yeah.
then it got destroyed because the people got divorced, I'm like, yeah, of course it would.
Yep. Yep. I want
I,
my half of that land money. So
I wonder if they put their money together to get that campground, or if it's something that one of them already had and then they got married, and then when they got divorced, it just got
yeah,
split both ways. I'm willing to bet
I,
it was
I
one
I
person that
think it
had
was
it.
that. I think it was that way. I think it was something along those lines. But yeah, I don't remember the full story of it. I just know that
Uh,
we he the guy had it like no longer available in the next season. So my brother-in-law, who's really good at just talking to people, like he'll call up people and no qualms or anything, and just hey, what's going on? Why'd you guys? Oh, here's the deal.
like, Yeah, marriage is cool as long as it's practiced by Sharia law, right? If you don't have that like control in
Jeez.
it, then you can lose everything that you've built to that point, right?
Well,
So
or you could gain in everything if you've got a few of the roles are reversed in terms of there's always a there's always a loser, I suppose, in it in a divorce.
have you heard of the term hypergamy?
No. Hypergamy. It sounds like hyperpergamy. So gummy is monogamy,
Hypergamy.
but poly, polygamy, but hypermagy is what?
The action of marrying or forming a sexual relationship with a person of a superior sociological or educational background.
Oh, okay. Hmm. I have not heard that term before.
So why did I say that word?
Why?
I'll tell you. Because it's not uncommon for a multimillionaire to marry a waitress at a diner.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You could guess what the genders are, but when you swap those genders, that's not going to happen, right? That's hypergamy.
Hmm.
Hypergamy is women in general tend to date up, right, based on the income of their partner or who they want to be their partner. They don't go down. So you're not going to have like a CEO of a company that's female like marrying a custodian at an elementary school. It doesn't happen, right? That's hypergamy. So when you mention the campground and how they got divorced and they had to get split 50-50 and all that stuff, it's like I don't know. I have very strong feelings about relationships and the way that the West has conditioned society and when things and when that life cycle is realized, how everybody wants to get their piece, right? How everybody wants to take advantage of the situation between lawyers, judges, everybody. So it's kind of its own
Mhm.
ecosystem, it's an industry. Marriage is an industry for business. All right, I'm done venting. Anyways, I'll tell
Yeah,
you
I just
offline why I had these feelings.
yeah, I was just thinking about like that would make for a pretty funny TV show, like where this where the roles are totally reversed, and it's like maybe there's just this like you know I don't know, just like extremely powerful CEO woman who's married to like a happily married to like a just the I don't know the dorkiest like
Elementary school
I don't know.
custodian.
Yeah, no, I think that there's custodians who are very, very clean and astute people. Like I could imagine. Um, I'm thinking of more like a maybe like a fast food manager at like a low tier fast food joint or something like that, or not even a manager, like a supervisor or something like that. But just like the juxtaposition of like uh, extremely powerful woman with like this what would otherwise be a fairly mediocre. Um, and I don't know, maybe I don't want to use the terms to describe people because somebody in that position could be working very hard for what they're doing. So I
Yeah.
don't want to belittle anyone, but I just the juxtaposition and just have them be like married. It's like, how's your day? Oh, yeah, well, the drive-through was really busy today. Oh, how's your day? Well, yeah, that merger and acquisition went through. It's just like, I don't know. I just got in my head, and then yeah, I don't know. It would be just kind of a I don't know fun
you,
thing.
I was in Canada a couple weeks ago,
Hmm.
and there's there's of course a Jesus freak on the corner, right, with a bullhorn, telling everybody they need to repent or they're going to die in hell or burn in hell, right? And I remember the conversation you and I had where wouldn't it be funny if I said, "Yo, I'll be right back." Walk to the parking lot, pop the trunk, grab my bullhorn, walk back. That's not true. No, no, you can do whatever you want. You can have orgies. It's okay, right? You're not going to burn in hell. In fact, you'll have a really good time and you increase your network. Yeah, right. He's lying. There is no Adam and Eve. There's just Lucy. It's an ape. We all descended from like. Do they still
Oh
teach
man,
that Lucy?
Lucy the ape? No, I've never heard of that before.
Lucy was the oldest found uh, subhuman that scientists maybe
Oh,
20
okay.
years ago believed that we had that is
Like a missing link type thing.
yeah. I don't know what the right term is. Yeah, it's Lucy. I think it's from like I thought it was like 3 million years ago or something.
Yeah, because they know that there's Neanderthals and other like pre Homo sapien like humanoids or whatever, but then like there's nothing between them and apes or something like that. So they or maybe there's a layer behind that they found, but there isn't like there's something missing in that evolutionary frame where there should be like
I thought there
here's
was
apes and here's like slightly better apes and here's more human like and then it keeps going from there.
you had Neanderthals. I thought Homo sapiens were separate from Neanderthals, or is
But
Homo
they were after like right. So Homo sapiens are like the next stage of evolution from a Neanderthal. But Neanderthals and Homo sapiens are totally interlocked. I mean, there's people.
they reproduce with each other?
Yeah, we all have some level of Neanderthal in us, I guess, or a lot of.
I
I
don't
don't
have
know if that's
any.
a.
No, I don't have any Homo sapien in me. I can tell you that for a fact.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't care if it's Pride Month. I don't have any Homo sapien in me.
yeah. Do you got
So
any? Do you got any Polish in you? Do you want some? No. Yeah, that joke. Oh man,
oh
reminds me
shoot.
of. Oh, good.
I got my motorcycle. Oh yeah,
Yeah, I saw
I
that.
sent you.
Yeah.
Yeah. My first day with it, I was terrified and I'm like I done damn near bought a house with this motorcycle, like and I'm scared to drive it. It's just gonna sit in the garage the entire time. I can't drive it, right? And I just forced myself at like 4 o'clock in the morning to take it down some residential streets. My first night, I just went back and forth in the indoor garage, just trying to get the first gear to like behave.
Hmm.
And it was, oh man, I'm gonna destroy people's vehicles with this bike. Just try to go, 20, 30 feet in the garage, and but I'm driving it now. I mean, I went from a 0 out of 10 last Wednesday to now I'm like maybe a 3 out of 10 in regards to comfort level, which is huge, regardless of it being far away from 10. So
Yeah. And what was the brand of bike? Is it a
I got a Ducati
Ducati? Yeah. Okay.
Multistrada Pikes Peak. It's 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 a very premium bike.
Yeah. Well, it's Ducati, so as opposed
No,
to.
you don't understand. I'm the first person in Miami with this bike. Like I waited 6 months for this bike.
Multistrada,
Pikes
Pikes
Peak.
Peak,
Yeah.
Rule All Mountain. Yikes.
So I took it a bike night a couple nights ago.
Yeah, I saw your video from that. It's pretty
What's
cool.
What's interesting is none of the black people cared, but the the white people they knew exactly what it was, and they were walking up to me.
Like, hey,
It's like, hey, wow.
it looks like a pretty sharp bike. Did you get it in a certain color? Because this one's
No,
red and
it's only that color.
only red and kind of like a
Yeah,
yeah, it's all red. Okay, red and black and grays. I like the color scheme. Maybe I'll paint my new camper that way.
there you go. I'm thinking about wrapping my other motorcycle. I'm thinking about wrapping it to Cleveland Browns, the color theme.
So brown.
So no, it would be
It looked like a Boston
It,
baked
it
bean.
it would be orange with the race stripe being like chocolate brown and white going going through the middle.
Hmm.
I was thinking about that.
That'd be pretty cool. I bought a I bought a vintage camper because my niece's boyfriend was selling one, and it was like $750 or something.
That's it.
Yeah, yeah. It's. I mean, it's not in like it's not a nice camper. But it's a vintage camper, and it's actually quite big. But the
Did you get
but
it
it's like
cleaned or was it
I'm gonna
already?
no, I'm gonna be. It's a project, so it'll be.
Yeah, because you know what they do in campers, right?
Yeah, no, I'm gonna be gutting.
Grow
Probably,
ops,
yeah. I'll be gutting it
Breaking
down to
Bad,
the.
cooking methamphetamine.
No, that none of that's in there. It's actually a fair. I mean, it's an okay camper in terms of like it could be a lot worse in the insides. So if there's water damage, it's mostly in the like flooring and ceiling type stuff, and it's not very visible. And but I'm gonna gut the whole thing, and then it'll be like an episode of Pimp My Ride with it, I think. So, but it's cool because they like it's all aluminum. The whole body is basically aluminum, so they don't really make it like that anymore for the most part. Um,
Yeah.
so
Hey dog, we know that like you're a huge fan of Dungeons and Dragons. So we took your camper and we created a Dungeons and Dragons rims on it. And then we you remember Pimp My Ride? Like
yeah,
how ridiculous fake it was? Like
yeah. Well, too, if you look the behind the scenes, like the whole thing, like they'd be without the car for like months,
yeah,
and
I heard.
they would be like they'd have to have rental cars and stuff like that, and they would barely get paid for that kind of stuff. The people, it was yeah, I guess it was pretty crappy the whole backing production of it. So, but made for a cool TV though, TV show.
Well, I think the first season was fascinating and then it just got ridiculous.
Yeah,
Hey dog, we know you like to go to the movies, so we put a popcorn machine in your trunk, so you can watch at the drive-in. It's like it just got ridiculous, man.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was still yeah, iconic show anyways. But yeah, so we haven't talked. I ran Grandma's marathon then. That was good. Oh yeah, he wanted me to like.
Where's your medallion?
Hold on, I'll put this on right.
You're collecting trophies like Predator.
Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
It's pretty heavy
I'm
metal though.
surprised you didn't run the Pride marathon.
No.
Don't they still have that? I thought that was like a Disney thing or something. No.
No. I don't know. I don't know if there's where there's a. I'm sure there's. I know there's
I'm almost
Pride runs and
confident there's a
Pride
Pride.
parades. I'm
Yeah.
sure there's a parade marathon or run. But yeah, I've got a 10K this weekend that I'm doing, and then I'm supposed to be doing a half marathon the weekend after that in South Dakota. But I'm
You
half
didn't.
tempted to cancel it because it's just a long drive and
But then you hit the wall in this past one.
hit the wall.
Yeah.
Like,
Like you burn up all your whatever things that are in your body, and you have to walk for like 5 minutes or 10 minutes. You ran straight through.
no, I didn't run full straight through. I did walk, some of it, but I didn't walk. I don't know if I ever walked for minutes at a or like a full mile. I didn't walk. So every
Okay.
mile of the thing, I ran some of it. Um, run walking is a strategy, and it's not. There's a lot of walkers. So in terms of like people will take breaks, walk a little bit, and then start up running again.
What I learned about my body is as soon as I stop running and start walking, it is painful to start running again.
Yeah,
it
Yeah.
like it hurts, and so like I just try to even like do the slowest jog ever because I know once I stop, it's going to be really painful for me to start back. So
Yeah. For me it was, I think I took my first walking break at the halfway point or around the halfway point. And then I was fine. I
hold up,
wasn't
half
really
marathon or full marathon?
full. That was a
Oh
full marathon.
shoot!
Yeah. So so a half marathon because I ran a half marathon, I didn't take any walking breaks um for more than like 30 seconds maybe. Um on that one. That was on April 30th. And then this last one was full. And to be honest, so my, like if I look at my time charts and stuff like that, when I did walk, I only added about a minute onto my pace or 2 minutes onto my pace that I was at the start.
Mm.
My slowest one was like, I think it was like 2 miles before the end or 3 miles before the end. I did a 15-minute pace, which is basically like a walking pace at that time, but a fast walking pace. But yeah, I didn't really add much onto my time, and I made it and I ran across the finish line. So yeah, it was a good run. Um, Sore at the end, but I don't know. Yeah, maybe I'll have to try to run it again and not do any walking.
Has your Did you take any like before and after photos of before you decided to go on this journey of running, and what your body looked like, and then like, what is it fair to say, 12 months later, um, like the difference in your body?
No, not really.
Have you
Um,
noticed a difference? Is your
so my wife said that I have chicken legs or something like that. So
Okay?
I should probably actually do some like deadlifts and stuff like that. Um, but I've also been like doing upper body strength training. I didn't want to do lower body because I was trying to get my legs to be like completely absorbed in the running, or completely adapted to running. But um, yeah, I mean, I've noticed differences, but my weight's been pretty constant, so I'm still have a gut that I should probably try to get rid of. I don't know.
Stop drinking.
Yeah, that did that for the month of April. It was pretty good at the end of it, but
I still have
didn't
on my
make a difference. I'm at a set weight, and I need to get it. I need to get it down.
I still have on my bucket list to go to Oktoberfest.
In
So
Germany,
yeah,
where they have those big steins of beer,
yeah.
and yeah, that'd be a it'd be pretty fun.
We should plan a trip out there. That could be the first time we meet in person.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know. I don't. I guess I haven't planned to go to Europe anytime. I wonder if there's a. I wonder what the best Oktoberfest in the States is. Best Oktoberfest.
I didn't think there was an Oktoberfest anywhere but Germany.
The most like there's October festivals everywhere, right? But the question, like Germany's obviously got the most authentic original one, but there's definitely October. Like we have Oktoberfests here at our breweries and stuff like that. Let me see here. October, so the real one's in Munich, but I'm trying to. I don't know which one. I wonder if this is a best to worst type thing. There's like apparently a one in Georgia. Helen Oktoberfest is the longest running Oktoberfest anywhere in the U.S., held in Georgia's city of Helen, Riverside Festal venue. Multiple weeks of dancing, food, beer, traditional dress, polka. all the above. Have you been to like an Oktoberfest
No.
like festival, like a just like a small one, or at all?
Mm, no. The short answer is no.
So like no polka and hoisting competitions and just
I,
German
I
beer, pretzels, and whatever.
I've been to one. I think I think we were in Germantown, Cleveland, and some white people invited me to some party, and I remember it was like it was like bring your own like alcohol, and with me like I wasn't really conditioned by I wasn't really conditioned about racism that as much.
Hmm.
And I was like, "Oh, you want me to bring your own drink? Okay, I brought a 40 ounce."
Jeez, man.
And I remember, because I think it was like, even though it was like Germantown, I think it was like predominantly, I don't, they were either Italian or German, the
Hmm.
majority of people there. And I just remember like this older white man, like he had a thick mustache. He looked like what you would see in the movies of someone that's like a, a retiree, like cop or something
Hmm.
or detective.
Yeah. Okay.
And I remember he came over to my table because I was alone at the table, and all the other people that I was with they were dancing. I don't dance, and he's like, "Hey, who do you come here with?" I'm like, "Those people over there." He's like, "Oh, I'm just, I'm that's okay. I'm just curious why you came here." And like obviously it wasn't my environment and it probably wouldn't have done any good for me to like use as an opportunity to get excitement or raise my voice, and
Hmm.
I just try to not get my friends in trouble and just answer his questions because I don't know who organized it. Maybe he was an organizer. Um,
Oh, sure.
but anyway, I say all this because maybe that was the closest thing to. I think I recorded a video on Facebook because I remember one of the songs. Right, this was probably in maybe 2007, maybe. I remember one of the songs. It was because I recorded it on my Facebook. It was like, beer here, we all drink beer. Beer here, we all drink beer. Let's go beer drinking. And like everybody was just going hard. I do remember that.
Yeah. 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 That could be a if it was a polka style song, I could imagine it
Yeah.
being like a
All out
Oktoberfest.
beer
Did
drinking.
anybody? Did they do any?
We'll have lots of fun drinking beer with everyone. And it was like la 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 la, like that whole thing. And it was hard.
Yeah.
I was the only
Did
black person there, and I felt it.
did they have like so one tell for like an Oktoberfest might be if they do the uh Ziggy Zaggies. Did they
Oh
do any Ziggy
goodness,
Zaggies?
what's that?
So so like at the Oktoberfest type ones I've been to, like you have your Stein, right? And you'll have your beer and they'll do a song and then they'll be like, all right, hoist them. And so everyone will lift up and then they go, ziggy zaggy, ziggy zaggy, oi, 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 ziggy zaggy, ziggy zaggy, oi, oi, oi,
That
ziggy zaggy,
sounds.
ziggy zaggy,
It
oi, oi,
sounds
oi.
familiar. It
Yep.
sounds familiar, but I'm not confident.
And then it'll be a clink 'em and drink 'em. And then it's like everyone will say like Prost usually, like clink 'em and drink 'em. I wonder if I can get a video of that. Ziggy. They used to do it on the Man Show back in the day. If you've ever seen that,
Mm-mm.
um, that was like a Adam Carolla and what's his name? He's on ABC now as like the late night host. But
Oh, you mean Brian Gumble?
no. Hold on a second. The Man Show was on Comedy Central. It was actually a pretty funny show. If I could find a clip from the Man Show. Hold on. Drop this link in here. There's the Man Show, but they used to do the Ziggy Zaggy thing in there. Here, I'll drop another one in there for the Ziggy Zaggy. I forgot there's also like a song that they'll do.
Harnessing nearly 1 trillion gallons
What
of
does this
water.
have to do with beer?
16,000
Oh
men
no, this is
building it. They lived in shacks and
this
tents
is
along
the Man Show.
without
They
drinking water,
do Ziggy
toilets, or
Zaggy
shelter
as
from the desert
they
heat.
drink beer
More
during the
than
show.
100 of these men gave their lives to this.
But this is what it would look like at a festival. You get the accordion, and then that I blah blah. I don't know what the actual words are. Yeah. And there's usually like a clink 'em and drink 'em type thing. Yeah, I don't know. If you can go to a German restaurant, sometimes they'll do it there too.
Yeah, that's what some of the people look like at the set that I was at, that I brought my 40 ounce to.
Yeah, it's probably a German, because it's polka. So polka's commonly played at these things, and the accordion is the tell. So if they had an accordion, um, then it was most likely a polka. And yeah, but I don't know. They're really fun because everyone's just drinking excessive amounts of beer, and there's usually a lot of like, conversations and little events and stuff, and um, people are dressed up, and I don't know. It's fun.
Mm. Polish, German, Italian, Romanian. Well, you don't have like little Romania anywhere in the States. You just have little Italy. You have Germantown sprinkled
I'm
in
sure
different
that there's
cities.
a I'm sure there's a whole like Romanian
I don't think so.
Romanian towns in USA.
Ziki zaki, oi, oi, oi.
Romanian Americans. I don't know, but I'm sure that there's like a small like segment or section within certain cities that have like a huge Romanian
Oh,
population.
shit. Wow.
What happened? What's up?
Um, so I subscribe to like the Ukrainian war videos,
Mm-hmm.
and I I think I saw a body flying in a missile strike. So am I still sharing my screen?
Yeah.
I am. Okay.
Or no, no, no,
So
you're not. Never mind. Sorry.
so like I was looking at like, all right, let's go. I see a body. You see that? Did you see that person flying?
Mm, no, I mean it just looks like a bunch of
You see?
rubble. I mean, maybe it could also be like a really messed up tire or something. Yeah, I don't know. Scrap metal,
Yeah, maybe you're right.
rubber tires. I don't know.
I thought I saw a person. Hold up. Let's do it one more time.
It's
Yeah,
insane that this is still going on. Like,
maybe you're right. You said it's what? It's been like 4 months.
yeah, yeah, it just seems like it's been a long time, and that I had assumed that Russia would have had more strength than that, but I think that's maybe what they
Well, I mean,
project, but they don't
I think
necessarily
they're
have.
I think they're winning now. I mean, they've been basically demolishing or obliterating and then securing from the east and gradually moving west.
Yeah, versus their original, which was like attack on all sides type of thing.
Uh, so
Yeah, I don't know. Do they have an active map somewheres of still of Russian controlled versus?
it's the pretty much the entire east coast of Ukraine. Like they basically just took the east of it after they destroyed everything.
Because I mean, they have Donbass, but have they and Crimea? But have they got into or Donbass? Have they gotten to? Have they taken Kharkiv?
I'm not sure. I don't think so. I think we would have heard about it by now.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it. So they have basically the whole that whole side of it, but they don't have Odessa, Kiev, Kharkiv. What they probably should just do is like have a ceasefire and then like build up their forces again with the territories they hold and then just start up again down the road.
It's probably going to play out that way.
Yeah.
I don't know if quarterbacking from the armchair. If I was like the NATO superior commander, whatever, I would I would basically let it ride out another 6 months for for Russia to use 6 months more of its limited resources during sanctions, and when they've depleted an inordinate amount of their stockpile, then I would probably quote unquote liberate um, eastern Ukraine, and
Hmm.
then like strike while the iron's hot, and probably take the risk of invading Russia because they're not the same Russia from when they originally launched the campaign because resources are finite as well as people, right?
Hmm.
And I would use that as opportunity to reduce the Russian footprint or the Russian influence across the globe. Basically, an invasion, and basically that questions if you invade the state, are they going to launch nukes? But you have to, I would think, be fairly confident that his inner circle is going to contain him. If not, remove him.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough to say what would happen.
I feel
Kind of a
like I don't know. I feel like it would be wasteful to have Russia deplete the majority of its resources, have a ceasefire, and then let them rebuild their militarization. I
hmm
think I think that would be a blunder. I mean, but they sit
yeah.
on nukes, but if they're at their lowest with nukes, would it be better to just contain them while they're at their lowest, regardless of them having nukes, versus them having nukes and having basically restocked all their conventional warfare and all of their trained soldiers? And that's the other thing. Like, if you killed like maybe 15 to 20% of their trained soldiers, right? Their elite soldiers, do you give them the next 3 years to rebuild their commandos in addition to that? or do you
Yeah, I don't think
recognize
so.
that they're vulnerable and then you just go in bulldozing and try to take as much territory and demolish enough infrastructure? And obviously, I don't. I've never been in the military, so I'm just from the armchair saying how I would perceive things. But I did play a lot of Halo Wars, a lot.
I think it
I was
depends on how much you've been depleted, though, right? Like how much
NATO
capability
hasn't.
you have.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, you're saying would NATO go in?
Yeah,
I don't know if NATO would go in. I think they'll
the whole
just
point of NATO
continue
is to
with.
contain Russia. That's the whole point.
Oh, it's sort of. I mean,
That's the whole
it,
point. What
yeah,
what what other part is there?
it's not to contain Russia. It's to defend against Russian advance or whatnot or aggression. Yeah,
Okay, I would say contain, but
it's like any country in Europe is too small to defend itself against a superpower, right? Um, for the most part.
I would argue the United Kingdom would probably be capable.
Well, I mean, to an extent, they have the benefit of not having that they have an ocean between them, or not an ocean, a sea between them and everybody else. But like most of the other ones don't. Now, the U.S. being part of it and Canada, like we're just their backing force basically. It's NATO's all about really about Europe, I think, and Europe's
Yeah,
protection. And
but I thought United States paid the most. It could be Germany, but I doubt it.
yeah, it's
Even
a they're
Trump was complaining about it.
yeah. Well, that's because and I
I
yeah,
thought
I
he
guess
referred to NATO as being brain dead, or somebody referred to NATO as being brain dead before the
yeah, he's
invasion.
not a fan of NATO because it sucks a lot of money. But Trump overall wasn't. I don't think he was not very militaristic in his in anything. Like he did strategic strikes and things, but he didn't like you know these big costly things because I think at the heart of it, he thinks that we're spending too much and we're totally overextended in a lot of things. So it didn't shut down a lot of stuff, but
America first.
yeah, it's a like why do we? It's like why would you try to be the police of the world and all of this kind of stuff? Just I mean,
Yeah.
if an ally wants help, yeah, we can go there, but I, I don't know.
And in other news, do you do any like design at your current like position?
Um,
Or translated, do you have any influence over design considerations?
when it comes to like software design,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like not UX design or
No, no, no.
systems.
Architecture.
Yeah. Yes. I'm currently right now trying to design out a bunch of stuff related to some changes, and um, it's hard to it's difficult because it's technically all outside of the scope of my team's work, but at the same time it's not. So I haven't figured out how much I can influence like the broader enterprise's system design yet. So we'll see.
I consistently have the hardest time at most organizations trying to convince them to isolate third party libraries into one project. Like it's almost inevitable that there's going to be some extremely cool third party library that we don't own, but it does everything for us. And they just want to sprinkle it throughout the whole code base. And I've borderline given up. No,
Yeah,
no matter how many white papers I write, no matter how many disclaimers I provide, No, no, but it does exactly what we need. It is its abstraction. It provides its own interface. Like, yeah, but we don't own it, which means that when they decide that they want to do a major version update or introduce breaking changes or deprecate a version of it, like we don't control that, right? We're forced to get with their program and recompile, right? We don't own that, so let's contain it to one area of the system or one library, wrap around it, and developers don't have to care about this vendor technology. They don't have to care about reviewing the specifications so that they can learn how to do pub sub. They just pub sub. They don't care about if it's Azure, if it's in service bus, if it's RabbitMQ. They don't care
Yeah,
at all. And I cannot convince organizations about this architectural design philosophy and the advantages that it has. I can't do it. So I'm literally saying, you know what, whatever, white flag, do whatever you want. I'm a contractor. My time's going to be up. I
yeah.
don't I don't have to live with this.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had to try to convince people to do that, to abstract away stuff. Like there's, I mean, at a minimal, like in an application, you put a layer between, you know, if you have an event bus or something like that, or a messaging service is the example you gave. You put an interface between it so you can swap out the implementation. Um, One thing you might look into is Dapper, DAPR, um, and uh, you might actually be a fan of Dapper if you looked at it, because it does exactly that. So Dapper DAPR provides a set of interfaces or APIs that are basically supposed to be standard for the basically a standard for an interface into particular concerns that we have with microservice development. So um, one of them is being pub sub. So how it works is you actually write against the Dapper APIs, which it's all HTTP APIs. You could either use their client directly, or you could just write HTTP requests and make your own little client library to do the minimum amount. And how it's structured is that you have a sidecar container running with Dapper running in it, and then you configure that sidecar with the bindings for those particular they call them building blocks. So you could say, hey, use Rabbit or use Kafka or use whatever. You don't need to maintain any of that stuff. You just configure it.
Hmm.
And then your app just talks to the Dapper container and says, go and do a pub sub for me, or receive messages and then post it. I really like the receiving messages thing because it's structured as it takes a receiving message from a messaging service, and it pushes it to an HTTP endpoint on your service. So you can literally just reduce all of your interactions with the rest of the system down to just HTTP or gRPC in some cases, back and forth between things. You don't have to have all of these third-party libraries brought in. That all runs in the sidecar. It's really
Yeah, I
cool.
think in service bus has a similar philosophy. My issue is I don't I don't want it to be sprinkled throughout the code base. I want it to be in one project, and I want to have a wrapper so that when there's revisions or when there's version updates, that it's still like contained and controlled.
Well, that's
And
yeah.
so
Oh, go
like
ahead.
your Dapper is still a third party that your organization does not own, right? So when they decide that they want to deprecate, you still don't own that, right? You still have to respond to it. And so like what I'm trying to do is basically create a wrapper around that, and
Oh yeah, yeah,
and and
and
com- and developers, your business app developers, just like they shouldn't be required to understand the internal workings of in service bus or Azure service bus or Dapper. They should just say, I want to subscribe to this mess or to this topic. I want to publish this message, and it is agnostic about a vendor.
Yeah, well, so Dapper, like the way it works is you're not it's like interacting with an external service via an HTTP client. It's not like you have to know the protocol in terms of like when you're dealing with any API, right? Any HTTP or RESTful API, you have to know the protocol or the interface or the API definition in order to get it. Um, the standard is there, and it might change, but it's going to be like they're very careful about bringing things into 1.0. Um, so like obviously you can still put an interface between the HTTP client and your thing, but you literally do not include in your project whatsoever any references to any third-party libraries. None.
Except for Dapper.
No, you don't even have to do that. As long as you
Okay.
know you just write the HTTP client like yourself. They have a
Okay.
set of APIs that you call. So here's what the payload looks like. Here's what the endpoints you have to hit is. You publish it and you're good to go. You can use their client, like because they have like clients that they've written up in C# and Java and that, but you don't have to. You can just write your own HTTP client. So then, like the upgrade path. So if Kafka or whatever, or they change their protocol entirely and whatever, and now there's an upgrade going on, like that all happens in your sidecar. If there's bugs to that, that all goes in that contained process, separate process. Your code is literally just a set of input output HTTP calls. And then you've got your own like data store and everything behind that. Like you'd still, have a database or whatever. But it basically Dapper is set up to handle pub sub, service to service communication, and doing like service discovery and all that kind of stuff. There's it actually has an actor model in it, so you can use it for an actor model anyways. State storage, so if you've got temporary like caching or just state you need to maintain in your service, there's that. Secrets management, so you don't need to talk to like Azure Key Vault directly or anything like that, or AWS Key Store or any other secrets provider. Configuration is the last one, but that's still in like a beta phase. I think that's all of them. Oh, and then there's just bindings in general, which is kind of like a catch-all for everything else. So like they have an example that they have where there's like you configure your Twitter binding to receive messages from this account in Dapper, and it literally will just post the like incoming Twitter messages to your app. Like you just write a little configuration and then I don't know. It's really, really neat, like overall. But the sidecar process thing and keeping actually all of your dependencies outside of your actual project so that everything inside your project is pure and a lot easier testable in terms of like infrastructure. It's good. Now, like I said, you're still talking to databases and stuff like that, but that's what your app is supposed to like. That's part of your app, right? It's a persistent data store. So yeah, I don't know. I'm a pretty big fan of it.
I see.
But yeah,
I gotta Google it.
yeah, DAPR. It started off as a Microsoft like sponsored project, but it ended up being like picked up by Alibaba and a bunch of other, and they donated the whole thing basically to the cloud something, whatever. This what is it? The Cloud Native Foundation, Computing Foundation. So, but yeah, this is a way to like, I don't know, using something like this might be a way to get people to minimally just like Like you never have to do a package update to the Rabbit client in your app. Like you do that in Dapper. You update the Dapper container. You don't update, or the Dapper version, you don't update Rabbit in your actual app. Your app just, everything is straight up HTTP. And literally, if you decided like they don't have something, you can build it yourself.
Is the paradigm similar to Microsoft Microsoft
No,
Extensibility Framework, where it has all these references that are defined in XML or XAML or something? I can't remember. Yeah, it was in XML, and you have like, because it's for Neph, it was like your plugin model,
yeah.
whatever
Well,
that thing is called.
within Dapper, it might be that
Plugins.
way. Dapper's written in Go, so I don't really know what their plugin model looks like. And I'm not exactly sure how Dapper does its magic under the hood. I guess you could go look because I think it's an open source project.
Mm-hmm.
It is an open source project. I mean, you can go and look at all the implementations for all of it, and develop your own and give feedback and all of that. But yeah, it's. I just like the idea of never ever ever having to ever go to like the NuGet package manager and say include this package ever again. Like I'd like to just have this little bit of configuration that lives alongside my app, and then I can focus on just like, here's a data input port, and here's a data output port, or a service input port and a service output port. And I'm just going to, work all through that, and I can model the entire thing just using HTTP and HTTP out type stuff. It's yeah.
At its core, Dapper helps reduce the inherent complexity of distributed microservice applications. It's built upon the concept of building block APIs. Dapper building blocks expose common distributed application capabilities such as state management, service-to-service implication, and pub/sub messaging.
Yeah. When you first get into it, it doesn't seem very. I'll tell you, it doesn't seem very like it's doing much, or like very like, oh, this is crazy. But I don't know. For me, the developer story of actually having to like talk to a message bus, for instance, is extremely simple in comparison to what normally has to go on. Plus, it's like literally the way this works is like, if your app is, let's say, using Rabbit right now, and you literally just want to change it to Azure Service Bus, you can just, all you have to do is configure your all you really have to do is configure the Dapper configurations or whatever, and it'll be that quick to just switch over. Like your actual main application doesn't have to change whatsoever. So Dapper is the interface. It is the protocol that you talk to these things with. So now there might be some like additional like metadata type things that you send along that you might have to toggle in your app, but those things are like very special use cases. This covers like 80% just out of the box. So
Yeah.
But yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
Oh yeah, I suppose it's time. But I wonder if you could get some flashy new like thing that's supported by a bunch of different. I wonder if that could be like a, hey, look at this. This is how we could do this without, and make your lives simpler.
Yeah, I just get annoyed. Like I feel like I'm having conversations that I'm like, really? Are we really having this conversation? Like, do we not know the consequence of what happens when we do this every single time? What happens? And it's just sometimes I just want to check out and say, you know what? Do it however you want to do it. I'll collect a check until they terminate my contract.
Yeah, or maybe you should just sit at a higher level and say it doesn't really matter as long as they implement the connections correctly and the overall system flow is correct. But yeah, I mean, in terms of maintenance headaches, obviously, just segregating those concerns is good if you can, unless
Y-
it's like a foundational framework or a platform framework.
No, it's something that is pushed very hard by people higher than me, which has been somewhat putting pressure on developers to understand that vendor's implementation detail in order for them to successfully implement pub sub. And I'm like, business app developers should not have to care about the implementation details of Azure Service Bus or whatever AWS provides for pub sub or in service bus. Like they should just subscribe and publish. Like we shouldn't require them to understand like the internal workings. And you can see the frustration coming out of my voice because it's
Yeah,
like, do you work for them? Like, are they giving you money to push this so hard that you're pushing it? Like, why
yeah,
why is why is this so important to you?
yeah. Because like 90 or 80% of all use cases are basically the same for pub sub. It's pub and sub, and that's it. Actually, I think Derek Martin had a pretty good video on YouTube about like creating abstractions, and it's like, the common answer that we give is that it's we create abstractions so that if the package changes, we can swap in a different implementation. But the truth is that, or we can swap in a different implementation. The truth is that rarely actually happens. It does happen, but it's rare. I think his better explanation of why we do extractions is to simplify the interface and to simplify the cognitive load you have to have in order to interact with some library. So this library is going to offer, the world and everything, and it's complex and hard to understand. The abstraction, the interface you're building is to make that abstraction like understandable to somebody who isn't going to spend their entire like time, you know, becoming an expert at that framework,
Hmm.
right? So maybe a different of approach rather than explaining it in terms of what if this changes type things, but rather like let's reduce the amount of cognitive load and understanding and knowledge that a developer has to have in order to just use some capability, down to its most simplest essence, so that um, they can more rapidly attack a problem. And that's what Dapper does, by the way. It does reduce the actual. You could have somebody maintain all the bindings separately. The Dapper APIs are really simple. Like it is literally like pub sub. That's it.
Okay.
It's like push a message to this bus or to this thing, this provider. Okay, thank you. And oh, hey, when you receive a message here, post it to this HTTP endpoint. Thank you. That's it. It's super simple. And that's why I like it. Is like I don't want to have to think about all the setup and all of the binding and just all of that stuff when I'm dealing with the actual application business logic code. It's like this is just a side effect, really. So, anyways, yeah, I suppose we're
Yeah,
over
you,
time here.
you convinced me to research Dapper. So
Yeah,
if
like I
I can
said,
find some motivation, I'll try to set a goal within the next 60 days to write a blog post on like hello world for Dapper, just so that I
yeah,
could try to stamp it on my resume for an unlock achievement.
yeah,
And
like I said, when you get into it, it's not going to seem very like it's not going to seem very powerful at first, but um, like I think the more you get into, especially just looking at the how quick it is to do like a pub sub type thing, and how much little code you have to write and packages you have to bring into your app. Like, oh, that's the other thing too, is that it's all across because they do the sidecar thing. You can have polyglot developers, right? You can actually write components in Python if it makes sense, or you can have it write it in Go or Java. You can connect any sort of like legacy code bases into these things, using these Dapper sidecars. As long as they support the HTTP protocol, you can pretty much use anything you want for a language. So you could use COBOL maybe.
Mm.
So
Hey, Roman. Sorry that we took a 3 week hiatus. I don't even know what hiatus really means, but eh, what country does it sound like that's from? Hiatus. Sounds
uh,
it sounds Latin, like Spanish
hiatus was the and this is like etymology. That's the term.
origin.
It's Latin.
Yeah, I'm so
It's
smart.
hire is gape in Latin, and hiatus is gaping.
Mm, whatever that
Yeah, so
means.
it's related to gap. It's a gap.
Oh. All right, I'm
All right.
tapping out. Hey, thank you for sharing Dapper. You
Yeah.
piqued my interest. Now I just gotta figure out how to create time to do something very simple, so I could solidify it as an option as an architect. Which
Yeah.
next Friday, man. Maybe we could discuss when you purposely decide that you don't want to be an architect anymore and you just want to be a developer. And I think people do that, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, yeah, I guess it depends on what you mean by architect, but anyways, yeah, maybe you could try it with your beach delivery app. So
once I pay my taxes, maybe I'll just start technical screening people, put maybe $20,000 up for, hey, this needs to be deployed. There is no hourly pay.
yeah,
$20,000, finish this, right? And yeah, so maybe that could be the two mastermind sessions from now. We could discuss what that would look like. I got to pay my taxes first before I put up that money, though.
gotcha.
So,
Cool. All right. Well, yeah, we're way over. So
hey, see ya. Bye.
yep.
Bye, Roman. Take care. See ya. I'm out.